everybody. Some of you know me, some of you don't. My name's Alexia, and I'm the special events coordinator here at the Latino Chamber. I've been here since May, but I have had some experience with event planning in the past. Um, so, kind of going off of that, this is a little bit about me. Hi there, welcome. No, not a problem. No, you're fine. And then there's Mr. Joe as well. Hello there. So I was just getting into the introduction. So again, some of you know me, some of you don't. My name's Alexia. I'm the special events coordinator here at the Latino Chamber. So a little bit about me is I graduate in May. I'll actually graduate with my bachelor's and my master's. I am the pro tempore of our Associated Students Government at Colorado State University Pueblo, as well as a campus student ambassador. And I graduated from East High School in 2019. So I was born and raised here in Pueblo. The reason why I wanted to kind of explain my background is because I am the pro temp and a campus ambassador. I host a lot of different events during in those positions as well. Last semester, we actually won the project of the year for our winter wonderland through Associated Students Government, which I was the chair of. So that was really exciting. And then for campus student ambassador, we have 4 events that we host, like really big throughout the school year, that I've kind of helped plan and make sure they go along pretty well over the past 4 years, going on 5. So there are certain skills that you need to have, or at least some knowledge about, in order to be able to host events. You can always help out with an event because everybody has different skills that will contribute to the event itself. But if you want to be in charge and know how to run an event, you have to have these 4 skills more than anything else. So you have to have the leadership, and leadership, we all know, comes in lots of different styles. So as long as you have some kind of I would say like assertiveness, I guess, because you need to make sure that everything is kind of staying on schedule, which we'll get into in a little bit later when we look at the agenda as well. But um, just making sure that you can kind of stick to a schedule and you know how to lead effectively. And that goes along with communication as well. How many of you have had leaders before that did not know how to communicate? We've all had them before. So those 2 work really hand in hand, which is really important. But I wanted to put that separately because not only do you have to have communication with your staff and your volunteers, but you have to have communication with all of the outside vendors as well. So um, if you've been to any of our events, we have some events at the Pueblo Convention Center. We often have meetings with the Convention Center event manager, just to kind of keep that communication line, make sure that everybody's on the same page. So you have to keep that communication line open with the vendors that you're using, your staff, your volunteers, and even those that are going to be attending the event. Make sure they know where they can park, where they can check in, kind of how the night's going to go, kind of things like that. Negotiation is always fun. So especially when you live in Pueblo and there's an event like every day of the week, you have to kind of know where you can host an event, what kind of food you can have there. And sometimes that does involve some negotiation, and just kind of having that conversation with somebody like, okay, well, how can we meet in the middle here? You have this event earlier, but is there any way that we can push this back and have you here too, kind of thing? That can be negotiation on price too. If you're looking for catering and you're looking at a larger event, instead of paying the regular prices, is there a way, since we're giving you so much business and we'll advertise for you, is there a way that we can get a discount on the food itself, on the catering, something like that. That same thing can go for the event space too. Open-mindedness. This is the biggest one. For those of you that know me, I'm a very stressed out person sometimes, but you have to kind of make sure that you put that aside sometimes, because events are going to get stressful. I can tell you right now that not everything is going to go by the book. There's always going to be something that comes up last minute. Marcos knows that firsthand. He's dealing with it right now. But the main thing is just kind of stay open-minded and stay calm with it, because there's always a solution. You just kind of but you can't find the solution if you're stressed out about it. You have to look at it with a clear and open mind. Otherwise, all it's going to be is just the stress and the negative things that are going on. So it's really important to kind of stay positive, because especially in the Pueblo community, everybody's willing to help each other. So it's just about knowing the right people and knowing how to how to move on from it kind of thing. So any questions about that? So the event itself, this is kind of going, the way that the PowerPoint is structured is if you are kind of looking to start an event from scratch. So the first thing that you're gonna have to do is think about what your purpose or your goal of the event is. We have lots of different things that we have in mind that we want to do in the future. So then it's just about having the idea, seeing what's missing in the community and how you want to implement it. And that's, it all starts with just an idea and then you go from there. So um, first thing to keep in mind is, are there other events that are already similar to it? I can tell you right now, something that I've wanted to do was a like a fashion show type thing, and that was because we did a fashion show in DECA for high school. I'm like, okay, so how can we kind of promote each other? Is there a way that we can make it a little bit different? That way both are in attendance. You know, there's different things to think about like that. So again, how will yours differ, and what do you hope to gain? Because for DECA, they hope to gain fundraising. That's what they're looking for, is they're looking for some kind of fundraising. Now for us, would it be more fundraising, or would it be a certain like community outreach? You know, are we trying to promote a certain like a certain demographic? You know, kind of what's the goal? Um, who benefits? Is it going to, like, who's going to be your target? Again, are you looking for high school students? Is it looking to benefit your staff themselves, like a connection, a networking kind of thing? Are you looking to raise money for a certain cause? Everything has a reason. Of Daniel knows very well too. We just did our 40 under 40 award ceremony not too long ago, and that it was for the community more than anything else. It was to promote those 40 individuals that have the excellent record that they do. So that was mainly for the community. And then again, the what do you want to achieve? We wanted to recognize those individuals that have made the excellent things that they have been and have done the things that they've done. When. So this one's a little tricky. For those of you that are on Zoom, I'll go ahead and share it here in just a second too, and then I'll pass these out. But like I said, in Pueblo, there's lots of events going on all at the same time. Again, Mr. Marcos either have a concert going on with Martini Shot happening this weekend, but it's the same time as the fair. So, you know, there's just things that you have to consider, because what other events are going on, especially with so many different business entities that are hosting their own events throughout the year. You will find a lot of overlap, which is okay. Just try to avoid it as much as you can, and see if there's like, even if it's happening the same day, is there a different time that you can do it? Is there a way that you can network with them and kind of promote each other? You know, if something's happening earlier in the day at somewhere else, is there a way that you can promote them beforehand so they encourage participation and attendance at your event later that evening? Um, Other things to consider, again, so like the morning, afternoon, evening, look at the other events to see what's going on during what time. Is it going to be a weekday or a weekend? And then the season. So Dante has told us the horror story of how he had to drive in the snow to go and get something from Walmart one day, and that kind of put a wrench in plans too. So you just have to think, you know, if you plan on having it out like in the county or up in Colorado Springs or wherever it is, do you really want to do that in the winter where you chance it with the snow? So it's just different things like that you have to consider. Um, Now these ones that are right here, oh, perfect, I have just enough. These are just like a broad list of events and business entities that you'll want to consider looking at their calendars to see when their events are, because they host a lot of events for Pueblo County and Pueblo City. And so really quick, I'm going to go ahead and share that list on Zoom. And then for those of you that are on Zoom as well, if you want this sent to you, you can go ahead and email us or send us your email, and we will, where did it go? Perfect. We can email all of this to you as well. And that goes for everybody that's in person. If you want something for later on, if you just leave your email with us, I can go ahead and send you all of the information in our documents as well. So just kind of go over a few. Thank you to Dante for this, because he had it all ready for me. But you know, just some of the bigger ones, obviously the three chambers, the greater chamber, the Pueblo Latino Chamber, and then the Pueblo West Chamber. But we can't forget things like the city of Pueblo, or Memorial Hall, the convention center, because everybody has like the smaller events that are being hosted as well that may not be as well known. And especially with us being in the town of CSU Pueblo, there's always lots of events going on there too. So it's always important to look, because you don't really want to host an event during the alumni game if you want a lot of people to attend. And a lot of that depends on the demographic and your target market of what you're looking at too. Because if you're trying to reach the older generation, then like I said, you won't want to do it during the alumni event. But if you're wanting to go for like college students, and you don't want to do it during a weekday because of classes, or you don't want to do it during like our student like read out games or anything like that. So there's, again, just lots of things to consider when you're looking at the time and placing of your event. Um, but this is a really good place to start so you can kind of narrow it down. It helps if you kind of have a general idea of month or time period that you want your event to happen at, because then you can kind of focus these a little bit more on that specific date and kind of filter it from there. Any questions about that? Cool. We'll go back here. The budget, the fun financing of things. Um, I'm going to be honest with you right now. This is my least favorite part of everything, and it's going to be everybody's least favorite part about everything. Because especially in the world that we live in, things are expensive. um, and it just depends on kind of what you want to do, and again, the connections that you have. So the way that we do things here at the Latino Chamber, the easiest way, I guess, if you don't have an already set budget of money that's coming out of your specific account, is to acquire sponsorships. So we rely heavily on our community relations throughout the city of Pueblo, of the relationships that we have, just who have we supported in the past that will support us, vice versa. So sponsorships are always a really big part of that too, and I'll show something about that here in a second after we go through the slide. But the other thing too, I know everybody wants to make it affordable, but at the same time, are you going to charge for entrance? Because if you're serving dinner, if you're having like a whole event, something a little bit bigger where you sit down, and like our 40 under 40 events, then you're going to want it to, you might want to charge for entrance. That way you can help cover some of the cost of the food and um, the staff that we have to pay for the venue and things like that. So as far as acquiring or figuring out what price range you want to go with, that's again when you're going to want to look at your competitors. Um, no event is really that, I don't want to say that original, but there's always something that's somewhat similar to it. So if you kind of go around that price range, it's all about making it competitive. Even if it's not necessarily competing with them, you want to make sure that everything's within the same price range. So for our golf tournament, our tickets for our registration for just one golfer, it was $100. Now, when I looked at the other ones, there were some that were upward of like 150 and up. So if any of you are golfers, then you know that the 100 was super affordable, considering it involved breakfast and lunch as well. So it's all about what you can do. A lot of that came from our sponsorships as well that we were able to get, that helped us cover those costs, because at the end of the day, finances are a pain, but if you want your event to be successful, what a successful event means to me is that everybody leaves happy. That's kind of what my thing is. And then, like I said, if you have any money set aside. So really quick, I want to know what you guys think is a successful event. What does it take to make an event successful? Because I just mentioned how mine is to make sure that everybody leaves happy, but what in your mind do you think makes an event successful? Any ideas? More networking, yeah. Something like, again, it's all about helping each other. That one's a really good one too. Anybody else?
I think people living happy and enjoying themselves and creating networking, creating goodwill in the community.
Good. I'm happy to hear that nobody had the expectations that an event is going to go perfect, because it's not going to, I promise you. But again, it's not a bad thing. But if that's what your expectation is, I hate to break it to you, you're going to have to break that now. Because whether it's something on the more major side, like they changed their entire um, sound bar on you last minute, or it's something like, oh, this person doesn't want to speak anymore. Lots of different things that can happen, but it's just about being adaptable and relying on your team. I can tell you that my team has helped me a lot when it comes to things, not only here at the chamber, but oh gosh, Jesse knows more than anybody else. For Winter Wonderland, the event that I had mentioned before, we had everything set up. It's an outdoor event. Everything was set up, ready to go. And then we got a wind warning, a very high wind advisory, to where we were told that everything had to be put inside on the day of the event. So I I definitely did panic a little bit, but my team helped me and we got it done, and we ended up having a really successful event. So again, it's about relying on your team and just being open minded, because things are going to happen. But and then the next one, well, let me go ahead and show something else first. This Zoom thing is going to get in my way though. So this is just an idea of the sponsorships that we had. So this was specifically for the 40 Under 40 Emerging Leaders Awards. So we have different levels, because if you're going to be going and asking somebody for money and to donate money to you, they're going to ask, well, what do I get in return? In most cases, anyway. So here we have the different levels. These are our highest two levels, and it was our platinum and our goals that went for the 3 and 4,000. But each one got a whole list of things that they were able to get in return for that. So a lot of it comes down to the marketing. These ones actually came with tables as well, so they were able to attend the event, which is again another great networking. Um, Especially when you mention them and everybody starts screaming when it comes to their name, and everybody gets excited, because it's all about the exposure that you get. That's what a lot of marketing is the exposure that you get. So um, as long as you have some kind of success, and because sometimes success for an event is attendance, it just depends on what you're looking for. Attendance goes hand in hand with the exposure, because if you have more people that are attending, then obviously your sponsors get more exposure. um, so it just kind of depends on what kind of event it is. You will have a little bit of a harder time in your first couple of years, because again, it's not a well established event, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible. It just means that you have to have the right marketing techniques in order to give back to them and from sponsoring the event. Something else that we added this past year for our 40 under 40 as well are program ads. So we had a program that we had that what got sent off to my friend the printer, and they printed off for everybody. That way they were able to take something home with them from the event, and in there were three different sizes of um, ads that you can buy. So if you don't necessarily want seats for the event, or you don't want like anything else, but you just want a page in the ad, it's like buying an ad in the newspaper, except you know that if you know somebody that's being recognized in this event, then you're more likely to go through the program, which means you're more likely to see the ad that's in there. Back to here. Venues. um, there are lots of things to consider when you're looking at planning an event and where you want to host it. So, first thing that you have to do is determine the estimated guest size. Um, so, if you want like a really large event, you would want a place like the convention center, again, because we have a lot of our larger events there too. Or if you're looking on something on the smaller side, like my senior graduation party was at the Eagle Ridge Event Center, something a little bit smaller that I didn't quite need the whole space of a convention center for, obviously. It's just, I was just graduating high school kind of thing. But um, once you kind of have the estimated guests that you want to attend, sometimes you can put a cap on it too. So max capacity. We have a luncheon coming up where we can only have up to 140. So then we had to look for the venue sizes for that, because then that helps kind of condense the list of options that you have. Because again, obviously, if you want to do something like a large awards ceremony, you can't do it in just a little hall. You kind of want a bigger space for it. So again, you'll need the final guest size capacity. That way you know how many tables to set up, how many people to prepare for. That way you can stay in communication with the venue of how many people are going to be there. Um, what side of town is it on? Sometimes, if you have it out in the county, not many people will want to drive out to the county depending on what kind of event it is. So if you want a lot of people to attend and it's not a very well known event, you might want to make it a little bit more local, where the most amount of people go to. So somewhere downtown is where a lot of people go. So just anywhere around here. Um, is it ADA accessible? Um, Not all places are. They are getting to that point, but again, it depends on the kinds of guests that you have as well. It was a mistake that we had during our 40 under 40 awards. We didn't have a ramp that we needed to get our friend Lindsay up on stage. So that was a big oopsie on our side. Luckily, we were able to kind of adapt, and she was very okay with it, and we were able to kind of remedy that. But it's definitely something that you have to think about in the future. If you want somebody to go up on stage, or like I just said, or whatever the case is, you have to make sure all of your guests are able to go to it. You don't necessarily want to have like an event out in the grass if somebody's motorized wheelchair is going to get like grass stuck in it, things like that. So just small things to consider that can really take your event to the next level if it shows the amount of thought that you put into it, um, for other people that wouldn't necessarily have that, if that makes sense. Um, is there enough parking for all guests? Sometimes parking can be a hassle. I don't know about you, but I hate parking, because I also drive a very long car and sometimes it's a mess. But if parking is easily accessible and close to the venue, people will be a lot happier, especially if it's a fancier event and you'll have people wearing heels. They won't want to walk blocks to park and back to the um, at the venue. Obviously, what's within your budget. So once you have your guest size, you'll want to talk to each of the venues. And again, this is where your negotiation can come in as well as what place will fit all of these parameters that are also within your budget. Some venues also won't allow you to decorate, just depending on their their rules, whether you can use tape or uh, tacks in the walls, whatever it is. It's something that you have to think about beforehand, especially if you want to have decorations, because you can't put a banner. Sometimes you can't put like a heavy banner up with just tape. You'll need tacks. So um, lots of different things, which we'll go into once we talk about the themes as well. Do you need technology? Are you going to have some kind of PowerPoint presentation? Technology can also mean the sound, the music, if you need a microphone, anything if you have a keynote speaker, because especially in a larger event, you're not going to want to have your keynote speaker to be screaming to reach everybody. So, what kind of technology will you need? Will you need the laptop? Will you need the projector? What does the venue have? What do you need to bring? All things that you need to consider as well. Like I said, I can share this PowerPoint presentation with everybody as well, because this will kind of serve as your checklist as you're going through the event as well. Because there's lots of things to keep in mind, and it took a good amount of time to go through each one and think about every single thing to keep in mind when you're going through an event too. Um, Biggest one is doing a walkthrough of the event. So, um, like I said, we meet with the convention center a lot. So you want to make sure that food is taken care of, the wait staff is taken care of, but then you also want to do a walkthrough with your staff and your volunteers, whoever is going to be assisting with the event, to make sure that everybody kind of knows what's going on and the questions aren't going to be asked during the event, which of course questions can be asked during the event, but the smoother it goes, the less stressed you will be. So just making sure that everybody kind of knows the times of when on the agenda this is supposed to happen and where they're supposed to be at this time and things like that. Again, during the event, you'll want to know whether the presenter needs a slideshow. And then something else that not many people think of, that I didn't really think of before I joined the team, is making an event presentation and a cocktail presentation. Because if you have a presentation that's a little bit longer in length, you don't want it to be playing on loop for just a cocktail for the cocktail hour, because then you don't, it's just going to be a very long loop and people won't be able to see a lot of the important things because they'll be seeing everything else that they'll be seeing later on anyway. So with that, just so you can kind of see what I mean with those, this right here, this was our cocktail presentation for our 40 under 40 event. So these ones are usually a lot shorter, and the reason, you'll kind of see like what I mean, but you want to outline your sponsors on there. So we had all of our sponsors, and again, this is just a loop um, at a certain time. So we had a video option for our silver sponsors. So CSU Pueblo sent us their video that we were able to put in here that shows on the loop. We had our board of directors, our chamber foundation, and then our ambassadors. And then we had a list of upcoming events too, which also is a really great marketing technique. If you have other events in line, if people are already in attendance to one and they really enjoy it, they're likely to show up to your other one. So make sure they kind of have that on their radar. That way they're able to put on their calendar as soon as possible. And then just stay connected, some kind of your socials. That way they know where to look for these next events. And then that was it for it. For the cocktail. Now, the presentation itself was very similar, but also a little longer all at the same time. So usually you start off with kind of the same welcome. Thank you to your sponsors, all of this. And then we went through each of our recipients for the 40 under 40. So just depends on if you have, again, if you have a keynote speaker that's coming up, if you want to give a little bio about them, where they came from, who helps put the event on, things like that. So just something to keep in mind as well. And then it wants to work. Food. This is Dante's favorite part, is talking about the food. We all know that we can bribe Dante by just giving him food. I asked him to help me with today, and then I bribed him with pizza rolls. So that's why he's here today. But the food, some of your venues will provide it if you want them to. Convention Center does provide it, but other places like where we're having our next luncheon does not. So then that's when we bring in an outside caterer. So again, that's when a lot of the negotiation comes in. Another thing to kind of be open-minded for the diverse community that we have here in Pueblo, especially, are the different kinds of options. So if you come to a place where the venue already provides the food, likely they already have these options set in mind. It becomes an issue when you are getting food catered, because it's something that you have to think and order specifically for your guests. So if you have any vegetarians in your guest list, or gluten-free, or any kind of allergies, we all know that if you want to have some kind of like Chinese food, you have to be careful about shellfish allergies or any kind of fish allergy and things like that. So it's definitely just things that you have to consider. And it doesn't mean that you can't have it necessarily, just means you have to have an alternative option for them as well. So a really good way to help with this is when you get the registration list and you ask people to sign up or buy their tickets, ask them ahead of time. Do you have any allergy accommodations? Do you have any um, are you gluten free? Are you vegan? Anything like that. That way you're able to prepare for that amount before. Now, with that said, sometimes people show up and they didn't tell you they were going to show up beforehand. So it's always good to have at least a couple on hand of each one beforehand. So, um, a vegan option, I don't know how I don't have it on here, but usually is a safe bet to have for everybody because it is going to be dairy free, it's going to be vegetarian, it's going to have all this and kind of covers all your bases. So if you order a couple extra of those vegan options, then you'll have plenty for those that come in that may, have those allergy accommodations. Is it self-serve or will guests be served by a staff? If you've ever been to a CSU Pueblo event, you know that sometimes they will serve you if you have it in the ballroom. Other times it can be a walk up and you serve yourself. It just kind of depends on what works for you and what works for your event. Also, depending on what kind of food that you're serving. If you're serving chicken with, some kind of special sauce on it, you're not going to necessarily want to have your guests do that themselves. But if you have like a burger bar, you can have your guests assemble their own burger and customize it the way they want. So you just, again, little things that you have to think about when it comes to the food side of things. And then some places have a salad and dessert for before and after, some places don't. If it's a longer event, you might want it as kind of like an opening, like a networking, you can talk over salad. You don't necessarily want to talk while you have a giant spoonful of rice or something in your mouth. But salad's a little bit smaller. And then this other one, this one, if you are not a restaurant, if you are hosting an event and you want to serve alcohol at said larger event, you will have to have security there. It is a law. So you just want to make sure that if your venue does not already provide that security, that you outsource that security. And there's lots of different security companies that work specifically for large events like this. So um, you don't have to have alcohol if you don't want to, and that just means you don't have to have security. A lot of that comes down to your budget as well as to whether you can afford to have alcohol there, whether you can afford to have alcohol and security there. Um, Again, your target demographic. You don't necessarily buy alcohol for a 2-year-old's birthday party kind of thing, um, but we did for our event, our award ceremony, and probably don't need to serve alcohol for something that's only going to last an hour, because then the drive time from when you serve your guests alcohol to when they need to drive is a little bit shorter, if that makes sense. Because at that point it just becomes a safety issue. How the alcohol still sits in your system a little bit longer. Themes are my favorite part. This is when you get to be a little creative with it. Um, Holidays close by. What I mean by that is our upcoming event, our upcoming luncheon that we have. It's the day before Mickey Mouse's birthday, so I decided that our theme was going to be Disney. And themes don't mean that you have to dress up or anything like that, but it can just mean something that kind of brings everybody together a little bit more. We have specific centerpieces that we can do to just kind of dress things up a little bit. If you want to wear your favorite Disney shirt, or you want to bring out that pair of $30 Mickey Mouse ears that you bought at Disney World that you have no excuse to wear again, you can do that. It's about having you want to make sure that your guests know that you are also human. Like, that's what it comes down to, is you want to make sure that we can have fun, and that you're not just there to take their money and put on this event kind of thing. It's your community. Is your food going to correspond with the theme? If you're going to have um, like a luau, are you going to serve Chinese food? Probably not. Or if you're going to have a fiesta type thing for Hispanic Heritage Month, are you going to have burgers? Probably not unless you're going to have it covered in chili like a slopper. um, a dress code. Some events are going to be a little bit nicer and a little bit more formal than others. So, not necessarily a dress code, but a preferred dress in some ways. Is it going to be black tie? Is it going to be business casual? Is it just going to be casual? We have lots of different options for that. It just depends on who your target demographic is and where your venue is all at the same time. Decorations, again, are you going to have different centerpieces? Are you going to have decorations on the wall? How many decorations are you going to have? Or how many can you have? Are you going to have like a banner? Are you going to have a photo booth? Are you going to have, all these little things? Certain table settings. Are you going to decorate the stage? Is there going to be a stage? It all comes down to the little details of what you have seen in past events and what you liked, what you didn't like, and how you want to implement them. A lot of that comes down to the events that you have been. We've all been to an event before and we saw things that we really liked that we thought, oh, that's a really great idea. I wonder how they did that. Or I should do that next time. Or I probably wouldn't have done that kind of thing. It's all about using your past knowledge, your past experiences. um, Matching centerpieces. We're gonna have little Mickey Mouse themed things for our Disney themed events. So, do you have to? No. Um, Depends on, again, your budget, your time constraints, your all of everything else. Whether how the size of the tables, even, if they're smaller tables, do you really want something taking up space in the middle of the table? You don't have to have centerpieces, but sometimes you want them. um, and a special cause, again, this goes back to the purpose that we talked about, the purpose of the event. If you're raising money for a certain cause, are you going to have that be their theme? Are their colors going to be your theme? That way you can help promote what the special cause is. And that also goes down to, if you're promoting it for a special cause, you're going to want some kind of promotional video or activity to promote that cause as well. So if we're going to have like an event that's raising money for the Special Olympics, we're going to want to show some clips of their games, something of why you want to donate, why you want to attend this event, to help the special cause. My clicker doesn't want to work. Seating. Are you going to, Winter Wonderland wasn't an event where people necessarily sat down a lot, but the 40 under 40 event was. So is there going to be seating, or are people going to be sitting for most of the time? Will there be a seating chart, or is it going to be open seating? There's lots of things to consider, especially when you're creating a seating chart. If if anybody has planned a wedding before, that this aunt can't sit next to this cousin because of whatever drama is going on there. Um, it just depends. But there's risk with both of them. If you create a seating chart, then you're going to be the one to blame if somebody sat next to somebody else. But um, if it's an open seating, then you have the awkwardness of, oh, there's only one seat available at this table, but there's three of us. So where are we going to sit? Um, so you have to make sure that there's parameters too. So the easiest way that we have found is not necessarily a seating chart, but assigned tables. So that's usually the commonality that you'll see during the event. So if for the Latino chamber, we bought a table, then we'll go and we'll have our specific table that we sit at, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there are assigned seats or specific seats that you have to sit at. And it makes for lots of conversation with everybody else if there's a specific person you don't want to talk to. Seating on sides. Now, that means more of like, if you have vendors, like if you have food trucks coming out and it's not necessarily a place where lots of people are going to be sitting down, you don't have tables there. Are you at least going to have like some chairs on the side where people can sit down and eat before they go out and do the activity? A lot with the fair coming up, you can see a lot, especially once it comes down to the like where all of the food and the festival and all of that is. There aren't very many tables, but there's always some kind of seating. There's benches, there's chairs, there's something set up. So um, are you going to make your guests stand up and eat? Things like that. And the seating for activities. So during our winter wonderland, we have the kiddos come out and they can decorate their ornament. They can write a letter to Santa. They do all of this, but those are the kinds of things that you do need tables for, that you do need seating for. So it all depends on what you have planned for the event as well. Skipped one. Marketing. This one's my favorite one because I am a marketing student. So again, it all comes down to the networking and just getting the word out there. I can tell you right now that your biggest friend is going to be word of mouth. So if you have any burned bridges with somebody, you should probably mend those if you want to have a successful event, um, because word of mouth is going to be your best friend. Pueblo is a very small community. If you didn't know that before, we are very close knit and everybody knows everybody in some way, shape, or form if you're not already related to them. You're going to feel like you're related to them by the end of the conversation, probably. Um, so that's going to be the biggest one. But there are also, you don't want to do just one of these marketing techniques. You want to do 2 or 3 or all of them in order to get the word for that event out. So social media post and social media event go hand in hand, because yes, you can make a post about a social media. You can make a social media post about an event, but the likeliness of that being seen a week later is slim to none. But if you have an event, like a social media event, then that will show up, like events near you coming up and things like that. It's more likely to come across your page, your post, somebody to see it again. So you'll want to do both, because again, some people won't necessarily look at the events, but some people will see your post all the time. Posts are more likely to be shared than events are. Sometimes events are more likely to have people tagged in than like a post that just some random Aunt Sally decided to post. You're not going to tag your best friend from middle school in there, but you will on a public social media event. So it's important to have both of those. Um, Flyers may seem a little old school, but they work. I know that, especially Jesse and Bree that are on Zoom right now. With Seal, we do a lot of posters, because then we're able to post them around the campus where students are going to see them most often. If you're going to class and you're opening the door, then you're going to see the poster that's right there for the volleyball game that's coming up, or you're going to see the poster for the bingo that we have going on tonight, something like that, because when you have a common space where lots of people are going to be, you have more of a chance of seeing it than having it like as a paper, than just having it up on the TV screen that's somewhere nearby in the same room, rather than having the flyer on the table that you're sitting at to study and do homework. Venue opportunities, convention center, or more likely um, our golf tournament that we just had, our golf venue, our golf course that we had the event at, they shared it too. They put on their bulletin board. They got us some golfers too. So I'll ask about what kind of marketing opportunities they have. Will they post it on their website for you? Will they put it up on their bulletin? Will they share it with their staff? Things like that. And the last thing, chambers, Little Latino Chamber. Become a member. We will help you do a lot of that marketing for you. We will post it on our website. We'll send it in our newsletter. It has our emails. We will do whatever it takes with us. But we also know that um, the Greater Chamber of Pueblo and the Pueblo West Chamber of Commerce will also all do the same thing. So becoming a part of at least one chamber will help you kind of get rid of a lot of your marketing in the first place, because we'll help you with that. Dante knows. Dante creates lots of flyers and lots of things for our different members and their events that they have going on.
See, I didn't think about making a social media event, but social media post. Should you post it often? Like if it's 2 weeks away, I mean, what is overkill? You know?
To me, overkill doesn't exist. I have shared, Daniel knows, I shared this thing on Facebook so many different times, because I don't know about you. I don't spend every day on Facebook. It just kind of depends on whether I have time for it or not. My Mondays and Wednesdays are packed, but my Thursdays and Fridays are a little bit open. So if somebody posted on Monday, I'm not going to see it most likely. But if I see it on Friday, then I most likely will. I would my main advice for that would be make sure to hit all the demographics. So just like we had talked about, what time are you going to host your event? You can have one posted earlier in the morning during the weeks would probably make most sense, because that's when people are going to class, that's when they're going to work, and they'll most likely be able to see it throughout the day. Now in the evenings, on the weekends would probably be really good too, because that's usually when people are like, waking up. Well, okay, if you're waking up in the evening on a weekend, then we're gonna have to talk. But exactly, it could happen. Or even just that's when you're gonna spend a lot of your time on your social media. It's not necessarily about overkill of how many times you post, but it's about when you post. Because if you post at 8 o'clock every morning, then not everybody's going to see it. And those same people that see it will think it's overkill. So it's about just kind of layering it out a little bit.
And posting in groups. I know there's a lot of groups on Facebook.
I think I am in more golfing groups now than I ever thought I would be, because I am not a golfer whatsoever. But spreading that word out, I'm in all things golf Colorado and all of these different things now, because I was trying to spread the word about our golf tournament. So definitely reach out to the groups. We have a word of mouth Pueblo that a lot of events get shared out to. That's a Facebook group. And I think there's a couple more too, but if you just search like events Pueblo or Pueblo, Colorado, then you'll see all of the groups coming up on there too.
One thing that you can do for when you're on Facebook, you can post something and then the same event, same post, and then go in like a couple days later, do an edit and add like a location, add an emoji, tag somebody, that jumps you back up onto the feed. Because you got to think,
Yeah.
people are posting thousands of stuff every minute, that bumps you back up into your friend's feed. So it's constantly there and it's the same post. It's not different pictures or images, so it kind of helps people remember.
Exactly. And also going off of that, especially if you're talking about Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat, any of the social media posts, is everybody like they always say money can't solve your problems, which it can't solve all of your problems, but sometimes it can help. If you have it within your budget, there are ways that you can promote your event on Facebook or on Instagram. When I did a marketing plan a couple semesters ago for a class, we had that added in our budget. Nice thing about Facebook is that it's more catered to your budget. So you can spend as little as like $5 on it, or you can spend hundreds of dollars on it. It just depends on how many people you want to see it, how soon the event is, what's within your budget, all of these different things. But it's that scale of you can spend as much as you want and still get some kind of promotion on it. And then so the main thing with an event is they keep showing it on the algorithm on people's For You page, or their opening page. I don't know what it's called on Facebook. Is it a For You page? Feed. Thank you. Clearly, I don't spend much time on Facebook, but it'll show up on your feed a little bit more often than it would if you just posted it without promoting it. So obviously, the more money you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to put hundreds of dollars into it either.
They give you free credits too.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
I just did one today, and it was like, do you want to use your free credit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I know that I use my promotional credit for my credit card all the time, because once you use once you spend so much, then they give you that cash back, is what it's called. So, same thing with Facebook then with the credits. Giveaways. If you didn't know it before, a raffle is against the law now. So you do not say raffle. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have it. It's just a cash giveaway, or it's a giveaway. That's kind of the little loophole behind it, because a raffle is considered gambling now. So unless you have a gambling license within the state of Colorado, you cannot say raffle unless you want to risk getting caught for that, if that makes sense. You just don't say raffle. That's basically what it is. Just don't say it. Just don't risk it. Raffle does not exist anymore. But cash giveaways can. Drawings can exist, just not raffle. So that's just also something to kind of pay attention to, because if the wrong people hear it, then you're going to be on their radar for your coming events, and then it just kind of puts a damper on things. So But if you decide to have any giveaways, are they going to be donated, or they're going to be coming out of the budget? State fair tickets, those are usually donated, but if you want a gift card to be a giveaway, you probably have to go and buy that and take that out of your budget yourself. In some cases, some other cases, your partnership that you've had with that person, they'll actually donate to you. So it's all about asking the right questions and asking the right people. So again, it just depends on what kind of event you're hosting. For our golf tournament, we had a giveaway for a gift card to their pro shop. So like obviously if you're going to be golfing, you're usually a golfer, so you can spend that gift card in their gift shop of getting something else that you need. You're not going to give them like soccer game tickets, something like that. Will they complain? Probably not, because it's still free, but just it's all about being cohesive with the event. What items will be given away, and then how will you choose the winners? Is it going to be a random drawing based off of who attended the event? Is it going to be the random giveaway that you have to buy tickets for, that you'll draw the name out of? Is it going to be based off of where you're sitting? If it's a random seating, is it going to be like whoever has the sticker underneath their glass, or however it is? It's just different things work for different events. It depends on the guest size that you have. Because if you have a random drawing, if we were to do a random drawing here, some people are going to be upset. Some people are not going to be upset, because your chances of winning are a little bit larger here than they are somewhere else, if that makes sense. So it's all about just choosing the right way to choose the winners. Okay, so the debrief. So first, what we're going to do is a little bit. What time do we have, Dante? Oh, well, really quick then. That way everybody can go and we can be respectful of everybody's time. Just take a quick look at this, and right off the bat, shout out some things that you see are wrong with the agenda. This one has some typos in it. So based off of things that we have went through, what looks wrong? What would you change on the agenda, based off of what we went through of how to make things cohesive? And then I'll actually just pass out this other one at the same time, so you can kind of compare and contrast the two, to see if you can figure out. I think I only had 5 mistakes in there, but you're able to put them side by side to see what little things that can really make or break the agenda. So those that are on Zoom, here on this specific page, there's like 2 or 3 that you can already notice, but so really quick, that way we can kind of end things, because I don't want to keep you guys too long. I'm a marketing major. I can talk for days. So on the first one that I handed out to you, does anybody have like the first right off the bat, what's wrong with it? Yeah. So there were no times in the middle of the agenda. So all you know is the start time and the end time. Everybody knows that. But if you don't have a time like, okay, well, dinner starts at this time, then you never know how long your person can talk for, your MC can talk for, your keynote can talk for. Is dinner behind? Is it not? What's keeping you on schedule and what's not? So it's important to have a time breakdown. I'll go ahead and share on here the other one. Oh, it opened on another slide. The other thing too, what other mistakes did anybody notice?
The fourth and third, this third annual.
I didn't even have that on my list. So yes, that one too. And that comes from copying and pasting from last year's to this one. So little things to make sure there. Exactly. See, there's a reason why I was pounding that into your head, and you don't want to put it on there, because if you have it on there, then your MC is going to announce it that way, and again, that's when you get in trouble. Now, on that same one, Tim Trujillo's name was no longer on there. So how do we know who's going to be announcing that? So just making sure that everybody knows where they're supposed to be at that exact time too. Going off of that really quick, here is where you can see like your volunteer list. So you want to make sure that you have it broken down by date and by time and where people can sign up for that exact time too. Something else that I can tell you is when you're creating an agenda or creating a list or anything like that, color coding is going to be your best friend, because colors can mean so many different things. You know, have they already signed up? Yes. Have they paid? Yes. Are they signed up but they haven't paid? Yes. Different colors for different things. Other thing for the agenda was, yes, that was on mine too. You want to know who these people are. If you're going to bring these people up to stage, or you're making them stand up, you want to know who they are. Why are they important to you? For multiple reasons, because one, it promotes more engagement and more listening if you know who they are. And two, it's all about networking. Do I need to know them? Are they going to be helpful and useful to me?
Also, well, then here's the thing, because I know a few names on here and they're doing different things before they were members.
Exactly. Some of them are doing different things, so it just depends. I think that was all I had on there actually. So, but the main reason why a debrief was on here and to like why that was important is because after every event, you want to have a debrief. You want to have pros and cons of what happened at the event, what worked well, what didn't, what you want to change. That way you can keep them in mind for future events as well. So we can treat this as a debrief too, because that's all I have for you guys. This is my contact information, but let me know what you liked about it, what you wanted to hear more about. I'll be here all day. So if you have any more questions for me, you can come up to me as well. But always make sure you sit down with your team, your staff, everybody who is in attendance. Not everybody that was in attendance necessarily, because you can have like a guest feedback survey if you wanted to see how guests felt about it. But from the background perspective too, you know, not everybody's going to know about the mistakes that happened. You know, if somebody went on before they were supposed to, nobody else is going to know that except for you. But that could have been a very detrimental little thing that happened on the backside of things. So make sure you communicate with your staff and your volunteers to see, okay, how could we have prevented that? What are we going to do for the next time to make sure that that doesn't happen, and things like that. Because it's all about a live and learn. It's making mistakes. It's learning from your mistakes. That's what life is. That's what event planning is. That's what leadership is learning from your mistakes. So being receptive to change is really big, and feedback. So well, thank you for coming out. I hope that you were able to take some things out that are useful, and like I said, feel free to contact us with anything. We can get you in as a member, and then it also gets you access to using this space for anything that you need, and the conference room or anything like that too. So